Beginning our Daf Masechta Sotah Daf Chaf Hey. Begin 3 lines down from the top of the Yomid. But the Gemara is going to introduce a new conversation, but because it's going to relate back to try to bring a few different proofs from the halacha of our Mishnah, which our Mishnah opened up this parak Arusa, discussing that there are certain exceptions to the rule of Mei Sotah that she drinks the suspected adulterous woman. So the Gemara is going to attempt to bring rayas from our Mishnah. Therefore, the Gemara introduces the question that it's going to introduce. Today's Daf. Something to discuss in today's Daf. The opening case that we're going to be discussing is a veres al das. If a woman goes against basic Jewish modesty of our faith, so should she be divorced and she forfeits her ksuba, or would we say that no, tzricha asra, she would have to be warned first? And what happens if, let's say, Ratza Balakaima? Let's say the husband wants to maintain her, does he have the right to do that? Halacha Mekan La Rusa, it comes up in today's daf regarding if the husband warns, the husband warns the woman that's engaged regarding the ramifications of her stira and when she is already married. Bal Shemach al Kinuyai is the concept of, well, what happens if the husband, he pardons his warning? Would the halacha of Sotah still apply or not? Mesu Ba'alei and Achlei Shasu. If the husbands died until the women didn't drink, so the question then becomes, regarding her collecting her ksuba, it would depend on whether shtar oimid legavis kagavadam machlekes beisham mesel. Do we say that who's really the muchzik of the shtar ksuba? Do we say it's the husband because ultimately she has to collect from him, or do we say that no, because since it was ready to be collected, it's like it's collected, and therefore she's the muchzik, and therefore she would get it? Because it's a situation of suffix. We don't know whether she's mezana or not, with that she's supposed to lose or not. That's machlekes beisham mesel. Allah Muberes Menekes Chaber that we spoke about in the Mishnah regarding his friend's pregnant or nursing wife, regarding the prohibition about marrying her for that extended period of time, and regarding islandness, regarding the islandness is a woman who from birth cannot have children, and someone who's not fit for children for other different reasons, as that applies to the halacha of the suffix Sotah. So we begin the current Daf Chavhei, 3 lines down at the top of the Yomid. The Gemara begins with a shaila that's going to try to resolve from the previous Mishnah. Ibailhu, iveres al das. If a woman violates what's called das Yehudis, which is the Jewish woman's faith, which is meaning that she's not modest, discreet, she goes out with her hair uncovered, she spins thread in the street, she speaks with every single man, which Gemara Subis and Daf Ayin Beis and Marav tells us that she could be let out without a ksuba. So the question becomes: Tzricha hasra lafsi the ksuba? Does she have to be warned to lose her ksuba? Meaning, maybe she will change her ways, and if she changes her ways, she won't lose her ksuba. Or in the tzricha, maybe that no, she doesn't need a warning because without a warning, she loses the ksuba. So what's the question? The Gemara explains. Miyamrin, do we say, since she is a person that's conducting herself immodestly, so she doesn't need any warning. That's already grounds for divorcing her without a ksuba. Maybe she needs a warning. Because if she'll back out, meaning she'll back away from those ways, and he'll stay with her, and therefore she doesn't deserve to lose her ksuba. So why are we bringing this over here? So the Gemara says, Tashema, let's bring a raya from the halacha of our Mishnah. A Mishnah quoted the halacha, that's the opening halacha, that's the topic of our parak called Arusa. Arusa b'shemeres yavam. We said that a woman that's engaged, or a woman that's waiting for yibum, so the halacha we said, if let's say the chassan or the avam warns her and she secludes herself with another man, so we said, loy shaisais, she doesn't drink, as we explained already in the Mishnah. Why? Because of has to be that she's tachas ishech, whatever, she's married. Not married, okay. But not this kesuba. She doesn't take her kesuba. She loses the kesuba. So the Gemara explains, Mishtahu deleshasya. So you're telling me that she doesn't drink the Mei Sotah. Okay, that's exesa kasab. But kunuya mekanila sounds like, but the earlier part of that stage of kinoi, of warning, is applicable. Now the question is lamai. But what's the kinoi and stira for? If you tell me she doesn't drink, so what's the effectiveness of the warning? Oh, lav sidik subasa. Isn't it so that, which is the second half of the halacha, that so she should lose the ksuba? Because if you didn't warn her, she wouldn't lose. Obviously you see that she needs a warning. So here also, this woman who is a veres al das, where she's secluded with men, that's exactly what stira is. She's doing things inappropriate. So you see that you need a basra, that should answer our question. So the Gemara says, Amabai says, no, loy, not necessarily. You could say that it's la'oischa alav, it's to make her forbidden on him. That's the point of the kinoi. Pashut alts isil. The drinking is not going to work to verify, but yeah, once you're secluded after warning, you become forbidden, but not necessarily to lose the ksuba. You would lose the ksuba even without a warning. Or a papa, he says another pshat, is lahashkeisa keshehi nesua, that actually the purpose and utility of the warning is to have her drink when she's married. Meaning, if he warns her when she's a kala, says, hey, don't hang out with that guy, and then 3 weeks later they get married, and then a few months later she secludes with that man after marriage, then she's going to have to drink the Sotah through the warning that she got when she was engaged, because he can't have her drink when she's engaged, because that's what we said in Allah the Mishnah, it says, Tachas Isha, has to be that she's straight after her husband when she's with him. But the purpose and the utility of the kinui is not to make her lose a ksuba. No, I can tell you losing a ksuba would be even without a warning. The purpose would be that she'll have to drink when she's married and she secludes after she's married, even though the warning was when they were engaged. You can like learn the brisa. Emakan la rusa, you don't warn an engaged girl lahashkoisa ksharusa, to have her drink when she's engaged. Aval mikan la rusa, but you could warn an engaged kala lahashkoisa ksharusa to have her drink when she's married. And therefore that could be the second shad, so it wouldn't be a raya from a Mishnah that to have her lose a ksuba needs a warning. No, it could be the warning is necessary for one of these two things, either a baila or lashkoisa kshinasua. So the Gemara says, okay, rather Amar Rabba says Tashma, let's bring another raya from our Mishnah. Another halacha we said was Amon l'kohen gadol. If you have a widow married to a high priest, or grusha v'chalutza kohen hedjed, a divorcee or a chalutza married to a regular kohen, or mamzeres and nesin l'Yisrael, which of mamzeres or nesin is forbidden to marry a Jewish man, or the other way around, basisol, a Jewish woman is married to a mamzer, an illegitimate child from a prohibited union of erva, or a nasan from the givonim. So those are all prohibited marriages. So we said leishaisis, because we said it has to be a ru'uya leishus, which so you don't drink, and also but ksuba, which we said that she doesn't take ksuba because the says she caused herself to be in this situation because she was secluded with a man that he had warned her about. Okay, but one thing says the Gemara is the same type of raya the Gemara tries to make. Mishtud leishasya sounds like okay, these type of marriages when the woman is warned and then secluded and then so she's not going to drink. Because we said it's only if you really ishas, and here it's not fit to be a wife. But hakenuya mekanalo, but listen to the case. Obviously, he had warned her, and she's secluded. Ulamai, what's the purpose of warning her? Which you just told me in the previous answer. You told me in the previous case of the Mishnah, you gave me an answer. You said, no, it's la'isra baila. If it's to make her forbidden them, what are you talking about? Hasirin v'kaiman. They're already prohibited. Oh, elav lahavsidan kesubasan. Obviously, the warning is to make her lose a ksuba, because you need to warn her first when she's a beres adas. Rabbi Yehuda Mediskarti says, loy, no, not necessarily. The warning is not effective. It's only la'oischa l'boyel kebal. The purposefulness of the warning is to make that other man forbidden, just like she's forbidden to her husband. Meaning, if the husband's going to die or is going to divorce her, and she's not able to drink, that other man, who generally she can marry whoever she wants to afterwards, it would be forbidden to her. It's not like in the Mishnah later on of Chazayin and Beis. That kashem shasur labal, just like this Sotah becomes forbidden to her husband, kachasur laboyel, she becomes forbidden to the boil, and that's the purposefulness of the kinui. Because you can't say it's to make her forbidden on her husband; she's already forbidden. No, but it's to make her forbidden on the boil, just like the boil. That's the point of the warning, but not to make her lose the ksuba. Really, I could tell you that to lose the ksuba would even be without a warning. So the Gemara says, okay, let's try to bring another again from a Mishnah.
Side question, please. How does a mamzer or mamzeres have a ksuba?
What do you mean, how do they have a ksuba? They married in sin. They wrote a ksuba. They did, obviously, was a
I'm saying, who wrote the ksuba?
Yeah, who married them? Which rabbi married them? You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm saying, you could do it yourself. I'm saying whoever it is, So the Gemara says, okay, let's bring another raya. It says again, Tashama, again, we're trying to bring these rayas from our next case of the Mishnah. The end of the Mishnah it says, "Ve'elu shebezn mekan lehem," and these individuals, the courts are going to warn the woman. Who is that? Mishnah ischarish ba'ila, if the husband's a deaf mute, he can't do it himself. Oy nishtatu, become mentally deranged, and this wife is running around town, whatever. Oy shoy chavish bebeis, this one is locked up in jail. So the courts get in there. Now says the Mishnah, the Mishnah says this is not like they were coming to that they're going to give her a drink because that's what you need the husband for. Rather, the purpose why they're warning her is that hello, you're going to lose your ksuba. The inference is if they wouldn't warn her, she wouldn't lose it. Shema Mina, says the Gemara, you can infer from this. Obviously, you need a warning. Shema Mina. So the Gemara holds it such a good raya that the Gemara actually asked, why were all the previous Rabbanim trying to bring rayas from earlier cases of the Mishnah, which we ended up rejecting? Why didn't you bring the Mishnah? Seems to be explicit that the courts are warning lafsi the big stubas. You see, you need a warning. Says the Gemara, no, it's not a raya. Because Damashani Hasan, maybe there it's different. The reason why you need a warning is because the lesla a must the Baal klal. Because she has no intimidation. She's not afraid from the husband at all. Because he's either mentally deranged, he's locked up in jail somewhere, he's not coming out, he's incarcerated, whatever. Now, if the courts wouldn't warn her, then it wouldn't be appropriate for us to penalize her. Because she's not intimidated by anything, and it makes sense. So you don't say that regarding this case of Averas al Das, you'll say it's just some extra preaches, some extra breaches. But someone that the husband's with her and she's not afraid of him and she's walking out that way in spite of that, that's an extra level of preaches. And you could say that even without a warning, she's losing. So what do you mean? What do you think? I'm blind? What do you think? We're doing all these crazy stuff, whatever. So then we don't have to give a warning. But here it's appropriate to give a warning because we expect when the cat's away, the mice come out to play. And I'm saying it makes sense that she'd be doing that. So we got to give a warning. But here the husband's around, they wouldn't even give a warning. So therefore. Why don't they say that the court's ruling is making her forbidden on her husband? Yeah, I guess so. Maybe it's not going to make her usher on her husband. You want to know if their warning could make him. Why would their warning make her forbidden? Meaning his warning has halacha of creating halacha of.
Just the same before. The only reason why that didn't work is because
yeah, but that's because it's there. Right, but that's because those are his warnings. His kinu and stira.
So the Bezdin's kinu does not.
I hear. Good question. You want to know, like their warning? Why don't you just say? But the Mishnah itself doesn't say. I mean, you're asking on the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Why does the Mishnah say la paisam ksubasa?" The Mishnah say la oisra baila. But I don't know if you could do that because we say such a svara that who said he wants that? I'm saying like he never wants an opportunity to not have to pay. You're going to warn my wife to make me forbidden on her? So it'd be hard to say that they're given that opportunity, which that actually might be one of the svaras we're going to see soon about like we don't give them the option to make him forbidden on his wife when he maybe doesn't want that. But it doesn't. Everyone wants to get away without paying, that opportunity. Now, a related discussion, the Gemara says, "Iboilu," the following question. Okay, Averes al Das. Let's say you have a woman who's not acting, she's not covering her hair anymore, she's starting to dress immodest. So, but the husband's like, hey, you know what? I don't want to, it's not easy getting married and whatever, and we went this far, and he wants to stay married to her. So, Mekaima, is he allowed to stay married to this wife who's suddenly, acting this way? Or can he not stay married to her? What's the question? So, do we say, just like by the Sotah Daf, the term makes it dependent on the husband's particularity. Meaning, it's not any woman that secludes herself with another man. It's when he warns her. And if he's warning her, that means he's makbid. And then she's going to become a Sotah. And in this case, like coupled. So he's not particular. He's not bothered about it. And therefore, maybe he can stay married to her. Or no. Even the coupled, what does that mean? Like Rashi says, in other words, since it's normal for a husband to be bothered by this, that his wife is acting with preaches over here and not dressing appropriately and speaking to every man, Tom, Dick, and Harry. So coupled. So obviously you're going to say that no, it is considered like he's makbid, and therefore no, he would have to go ahead and divorce her. What's the halacha? Says Gemara Tashma to bring a raya from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says the elu shebezin mekanlem. These are the types of women that the courts will warn those women that hey, watch out, your behavior is inappropriate. If her husband became a deaf mute, or nishtato, or he became mentally deranged, or he's locked up in jail. So she gets a call from the Rav and says, I just want you to know, I know your husband's away, but we know what you're doing, and this is not acceptable. Okay, says the Gemara like this. V'yamar, if you're going to say, Ratza bala kaima makaima, that you're telling me if the husband wants to stay married to such a woman, he's allowed to stay married to her. This is the story that I was telling you that the Gemara is going to say. Avdi bezdin midi, is the court's going to do something to dimun loy nichele labal that maybe won't be okay with the husband? In other words, how could we be agents for him for something that's a liability for him that he doesn't want? The Gemara famously says in Ksubas Avidav, "In chavan adam shlei b'fan," you cannot create a liability for someone when he's not there. How could the Rabbanim call up this guy's wife? He's like, I know she's not, no one's perfect, I know she's dressing whatever and talking like this and whatever, but I want to stay married to her. So how could the Rabbanim go up and do something for him that he's not okay with? Obviously, that he's not allowed to stay married to her. And if she's a veres al das and she's not doing das Yehudis, he has to divorce her. Says the Gemara, no, that's not a raya. Stamad de Milsa, you could say, we presume, keeping the veres al dasi, since she's violating the basic Jewish woman's faith, he would prefer it. But you're right. If he wants to stay, he could stay. It's just that we're presuming that he would want to, so therefore that's why we can go ahead and warn her when he's not around. So the following question. Baal shemachal al kinuya. The husband, it pardons his warning. I mean, he had warned her, he says, watch out, this guy, I don't want you to be with him. And then he pardons her warning. So the question is, kinuya machal, is his warning pardoned? Or is it not pardoned? Now Rashi explains at this point of the Gemara understands that the question is whether he pardons before she secludes herself with another man, or whether she pardons him after he pardons her after she's secluded with another man. And if you're going to say, meaning based on the previous Gemara's question, it's an imtim saloima. If you're going to say that if a woman's a veres al das, that he wants to stay with her, you could stay with her. Oh, that's talking about without a warning. But when he gave a warning and she secluded herself and now he wants to pardon, that's the question. Would you say that he could uproot the warning and should be permitted him or not? As the Gemara explains. Mirmin, do we say, bikinu de bal tal rachmana? Okay, depends on the husband's warning. Or bal ha-machal le'likinoy, but he pardoning his warning. I don't know. Kiven the kinu la meikara, since he originally warned her, le'matzim that's it, you can't take it back. It's already warned and she'll be asatim as a saita. So the Gemara says, Tashmat's being a raya from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah, again, quoting the same teaching, said, and these are the ones that the husband, that the courts warned them, is Mishnah Scharish Baila. If someone that the deaf mute, or the husband's deaf mute, or in the shtato became mentally deranged, or was locked up in jail. Okay, says the Gemara like this. If you're going to say, that if the husband pardons his warning, it's considered warned, so what's the point? We're going to do something the husband's going to come ahead and pardon? In other words, like Rashi explains the Gemara's question, it's disgraceful for the courts. The Rabbanim call up and they put up all Pachkevil and this and that, and they say, whatever the words he says, and the Ishis, whatever, and then he comes back from jail and he's like, yeah, I'm staying with her. And that's it, the whole thing was in vain. If he could be obviously he cannot be Michael. And therefore, since the warning goes out, it'll be effective. So says the Gemara, no. So generally, we presume other maskim das bezin, the person would agree to what the courts had done, and we rely on stam b'nei adam that would go ahead and go with the warning. But if he's meichel, okay, it'll be mechila. But it's not a reason not to do it in the first place. Someone says, okay, Tashmat's being a raya from Mishnah of Zayin and Alf. The Mishnah said that when this husband brings his wife to the courts, to the local bezdin, and he says, I warned her, and she's secluded with this man. And the halach is they bring him to Talmidei Chacham to take her up to Yerushalayim to the Bezdin HaGadol. And the reason why it's two Talmidei Chacham is Shema Yavala B'derech, because maybe he's going to be intimate with her on the way, which would ruin the effectiveness of the Mei Saita to inspect her. So that's why they sent to Talmidei Chacham. Now it says the Gemara, I don't understand. If you say that if the husband pardons his warning, the warning is like pardoned. So what's the point you tell me that you're sending to Talmidei to warn him from being with her, intimate with her? What do you mean? He'll just pardon his warning and then he could cohabit with her. So the Gemara answers and says, you're right, he could do that. And actually the Gemara infers from the Mishnah, what's the reason why we have to send two Talmidei Chacham? Just send two regular people. Oh, because because they're learned, and they know that she's forbidden to him if he doesn't pardon the warning. But that's the point. The point is, if he wants to be intimate with her, that Amrile, they tell him, that That's why the falam divid, they know the loopholes. They say, hey, you want to be with her? No problem. Just pardon your warning, and then you can be intimate with her. So that's actually the point. So don't prove that you cannot from there. To the contrary, that's actually a chum because you actually could be meichel and pardon. So it's not a raya. Must have tashma to being a raya. Dom Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says that shleisha dvarim sachli zeira. There was three things that Zeira told me. Who he was from Me'anchi Yerushalayim, from the people of Yerushalayim, and they're all similar. They're all about the idea about mechila, about pardoning. But the first one answers our question. Baal shemachal al kinuyav, the husband that pardons his warning, kinuyav machal. His warning is pardoned, so that answers our question. You see, he could be meichel his kinui. But then we go on to two other similar halachas. V'zakin mamre, the rebellious elder who rebels against the courts of the high court, the lishkas agazas, which his death penalty is to be strangulated. Shiratzu bezdin limchalei. If the courts want to pardon him, they can pardon him that he's rebelling against them. And the third one, the ben Sira Meir, the rebellious and wayward son, Shiratzu av v'imar limchalei, that the parents want to pardon him, they can pardon him. That's what he heard from Zeira. But he says, when I came to my colleagues in the south, on two of them they agreed to me, but regarding the rebellious elder, they did not agree to me. That no, they cannot be meichelim because we don't want to increase disputes in the Jewish people, and the courts have to be able to decide. And this guy, this elder, even if it could be the biggest Talmid Chacham, if he's disagreeing with them, it's going to create machlekes, and therefore that they cannot be meichel. But shmamino, again, one thing says the Gemara, what we infer from this, el baal shemachal al kinuyev, the husband pardons his warning, kinuyev machal, it's considered pardon. Shmamino, that answers our question. But the Gemara says, pligibar revachav ravina, we have machlekes amayram in how to qualify this halacha. This that we said that he could pardon his warning. When is this? Chalama one says, no, only before the warning, only before the seclusion could he take back that warning. Once it's already done, the warning was already fulfilled with the seclusion, then you cannot pardon that anymore. Another one says, no, even after she was secluded, he's allowed to pardon that warning to take away the status of the Satan. Says the Gemara, it's logical like the one that says, no, you cannot pardon him once you already was secluded that man. Where do you get this from? Because you can infer this from what Rabbana responded to Rabbi Yesi. What did they respond? The time I learned the Brisa. Rabbi Yesi, he said like this. He says, Bala neman oleha. That he says that the husband is believed regarding the wife, meaning he holds that when they're on their trip up to Yerushalayim, he says you don't need two Talmidei Chacham to go with the husband. Why not? It's a mekaf chaymer. Because a man need if a person's wife, half of the year, she's a menstruating woman, which is it's a kares to be intimate with his wife. The husbands believe we don't say two Talmidei Chacham every 2 times, 2 weeks out of the 4. Hello, we're from the rabbinate and we're here to be here. We're not letting you be secluded. No. So Sotah Shibalav. So the whole Sotah, being intimate with her when she's in the state of the suffix Sotah, which is a negative prohibition, as the Gemara teaches in Yevamos Aviyad Alpha Mebez says Achri Ashur Tamah, after that she became Tameh, which includes the Sotah Shenistara. It's just a negative prohibition. Like Koshkin isn't all the more so that we could trust him with his wife, this Sotah, that he's not going to be intimate with her? Right, yeah. So that's like Koshkin. So Amalei, they say to him, no. If you're going to say by nida shekin yesh laheter, which is it's going to be permitted, like you're saying, pas pasale is mekem warten bis geit kim in 2 Wochen. Time besaita shein laheter. What are you going to say to that? There's no other permissibility. This might be the last hurrah. She might be done after this. Oh, that's what they responded. But says the Gemara, I could bring your raya. V'amid if you're going to say la'achastira. Like the Mandama wants to say that even after she's secluded, Machaloi can pardon her. What are you talking about? Mishkachas lo diyesh lo heter. Why are you telling me that? It's this grace Yetzahara because there's no heter. Of course there's a heter. The ibai machal elikinoi baal. What says if he wants to, he could just pardon the warning and they can be baal on her. Lishmamana obviously la'achastira in the machal. It's mustaba like that man because no, once she was secluded, which now they're on their way up to the Bizna Gadol because she already was Saisa, so there's no more pardoning. And that's why in Laheter, Shemamina, that proves like the man the Amma who holds that no, you can only pardon the warning before the stira. Afterwards, it's already too late. No, Beinod Lamakum regarding those things. No, it's this din miyuchid over here by the husband's warning because it depends on his warning. It's the din. The way the Gemara understands, like a din in him. Usually the asra is just a technicality to get you executed, but it's not the Adam's personal like grudges that are prosecuting this guy.
If he gives her the straw and they're on the way to Yerushalayim, does she have to, let's say she wants to be Moga on the Maisa, does she have to do it in front of Adam or just in front of her husband?
Good question. Why would it have to be in front of Adam?
No, they make a, okay, listen.
Yeah, Tameani, she says, Tameani. And then when she says Tameani, then okay, then fine, then he's going to divorce her without a ksuba. Shaila is if she believed, then you get into the whole...
Stay with her.
No, if she was Mazana, you can't stay with her. She's Asa Labala. What? No, a woman was Mazana. That's only Ba'inus a kind. If she was raped as the Ashes kind, she's been to husband. But if a woman is... She's Asa Labala into the book. If she did it willingly, if she was Mazana. Right.
I told you to come on earlier that there was a man that almost said that you could be
Michael.
and stay with her.
Michael what?
That she was Mazana.
I don't recall.
No? Okay.
I don't recall. So the Mishnah said that.
No, he meant the historic. So it's Moichel, so we don't know. Because he's only ever Chashash. It's not a...
Yeah, the key, the warning.
It could be
Yeah.
Moichel, but not if she says clearly she did it willingly.
Right. We call that what's called suffix Sotah. But Sotah Vadai, which we mean say that the straying woman, that would be that's a isser. Now the Mishnah had said on Daf Daled that what happens if Mesu Balein actually Shas? Okay, they're on the way up, and the husband has a heart attack. It's too much for him. This whole thing, this whole story, this whole saga. His wife being Mizana, he has a heart attack, and she didn't get a chance to drink. What's the halacha now? Now the wife, a wealthy husband, huge ksuba. It was a big one of those big weddings. They wrote ksuba dinan, whatever they read out, like it was like a thousand, million, like whatever. Now, what happens with the ksuba? So we have machlekes in the Mishnah B'Shamay B'Chu. Everyone agrees she doesn't drink because there's no husband over here. The question was, does she get the ksuba or does she not get the ksuba? So the Gemara says, what's the machlekes? In other words, we know what the machlekes is. The question is, what's the rationale that they give for their reasonings? Where Beis Shammai says that she takes the ksuba, Beis Hillel says she does not take ksuba. What's the machlekes? So Beis Shammai said, but the Beis Shammai hold shtaro imid ligavis. When you have a document that's ready to be collected, in other words, if you have an outstanding document against your friend and there's a lien on his property, it's kagavai dummy. It's like it's collected. In other words, the one who's holding the star is really the one who has the chazaka under the chasim more than the borrower, because I have a document, it's ready to be collected, and therefore the estate is already considered his domain, and therefore it's actually the yarshim of the husband that are the collectors, and they're the mitzvah mechaveir alein haraya, and they have to bring a proof that she was mezana in this seclusion, which obviously she can't because we have no witnesses. That's the whole point of the Sotah drinking the waters to verify. And therefore, they would have to prove for her to lose the ksuba because they're the collectors. Whereas as you get into Beis, the Basil Sabri, Basil hold that no. When you have a document waiting to be collected, it's not like it's collected. And therefore, you have something that you'll use in court to be able to collect, but it's not like it's collected. And therefore, she's the collector out of doubt, because maybe she was mezana, and therefore that they're considered the definite, and she's considered the suffix. And we know the halacha always is ain't suffix meitim devadai, and therefore she would have to bring a raya that she was not mezana, which obviously she can't. If she could, she wouldn't be drinking this it's mesaita, because she would show that she was never mezana, and therefore that's the machlekes b'Shammai Hill if she's going to get the ksuba or not. Now I said in the Mishnah that moberes chaveroi v'chulu. We said that it's forbidden to get remarried when she's pregnant or if she's nursing until her child turns 2. And the question was that if she married before this time, and she was warned by her new husband about being secluded with a man. So we had this machlekes in the Mishnah. Meir said that, okay, everyone agrees that she doesn't drink because that was the question about does she drink or not? Because is she considered ru'uya for having children? And we're saying a person has to have children. So Meir said that she doesn't drink, but she doesn't take a ksuba. She's considered in the ru'uya l'kaima because you can't. He's not supposed to be married to her. And the Chacham say, no, Yochel Afrisha, he could separate, they could just separate, live in different homes, so she's Ruh L'Kaima, and therefore that would be viable for the drinking of the Mei Sotah. So on that, Amar Rav Nachman Amar Rabba Avua, he qualifies, and he says that Machloik is that we have between, that Rebbe Eliezer says, that, what do you mean, he could marry another one, and therefore, that's not considered as and this also on the etc., which we said. We said the other cases were Eilinus Uzakina. We said if let's say there's a woman who can't have children either because from birth or because she's older or because she sterilized herself, whatever it is. So the Tanakam had said that she doesn't take her ksuba and she doesn't drink because it's forbidden to be married to someone who can't have children because he's commanded to have perivirivia. So it's considered Einu L'Kaima. Rabbi Eliezer says, what do you mean? You can marry another woman. You can have children from her. So it's Roy L'Kaima, and therefore they would be shaises for this. So on this halacha, so this is what the Gemara is qualifying, that Rabbi Eliezer says, what do you mean, you can marry someone else? So it says Rav Nachman, that's only by Keira V'Zekina. That's only by a sterilized woman or an older woman. Meaning that you can't say that, she can't drink. The whole reason is only because you're telling me that it's not fit to be married to her. And then Rabbi Eliezer disagrees. He says, what do you mean? Why can't you be? Of course you're fit to be married to her, because you can marry another woman. You have children with someone else. That's where Rabbi Eliezer is disagreeing and saying she will drink the Mei Sotah because she's really kaima. Of islandness, but regarding a woman who was born this way, that she didn't have even feminine characteristics, that although you're right, that you could stay married to her and you could have children with someone else, but she will not drink, even according to Rabbi Eliezer. What's the reason? Everyone agrees with the no, she's not going to drink and she's not going to take a suba. Because it's based on the pasuk. The pasuk says that if you don't find the woman being tameh and she's really tahar, the niksa, she'll be clean, the nizra zera, and she'll have children as a blessing because of this being falsely accused. Wait a second. What does that tell us? Misha darcha lahazriya. That means to say only someone that generally seminates, which is it's fit for her to become pregnant. Yatzazu shein darka lazriya. That excludes this woman, the alnus, that's not normal for her to have children. Now, as Rashi explains, but a woman that was sterilized because of, let's say, some injury, or an elderly woman, at least they're from the type of women that could become pregnant before that. But an illness from birth was like this, and therefore she wasn't fit, and therefore says Rav Nachman, therefore even Rabbi Eliezer agrees in the case of illness that she would be disqualified from drinking, not because of Inu L'Kaima, because you can marry someone else, but simply because of the pasuk of Nixon Nizera. And then next up we'll discuss the questions that the Gemara is going to ask on this opinion. Thank you to Anytime for hosting us.